Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for standing by, and welcome to Canaan Incorporated second quarter 2020 earnings call. At this time, all participants are in a listen-only mode. After the management's prepared remarks, we will have a Q&A session. Please note that this event is being recorded. Now, I'd like to hand the conference over to your speaker host today, Mr. Shaklee, Board Secretary of the company. Please go ahead, sir.
Thank you very much, and hello everyone. Welcome to Canaan Inc.'s second quarter 2020 earnings conference call. The company's financial and operating results were released by our newswire services earlier today and are currently available online. Joining us today are our Chairman and CEO, Mr. Nangeng Zhang, and our CFO, Mr. Quanfu Han. In addition, Mr. Xiaoming Lu, our VP, and Mr. Dongzhen Zhang, our Executive Assistant, will also be available during the question and answer session. Mr. Zhang will start the call by providing an overview of the company and the performance highlights for the second quarter of 2020. Mr. Hong will then provide the details on the company's operating and financial results for the period before we open the call up for your questions. Before we continue, I would like to refer you to our safe harbor statement in our earnings press release, which also applies to this call as well, as we will be making forward-looking statements. Please also note that we will discuss non-GAAP measures today, which are more thoroughly explained and reconciled to the most comparable measures reported under general accepted accounting principles in our earnings release and the filings with the SEC. With that, I will now turn the call over to our Chairman and CEO, Mr. Nangeng Zhang. Mr. Zhang will deliver his remarks in Chinese, and I will provide the corresponding English translations. Please go ahead, sir.
谢谢李少克 ，Thank you， 少克。大家好，我是迦南科技董事长兼CEO 张南庚。请允许我向大家简要的介绍一下公司在今年第二季度的情况。
Hello everyone, this is Nangeng Zhang, Chairman and CEO of Canaan Inc. I will now provide a brief overview of our progress in second quarter of 2020.
2020年5月呢，比特币平稳的完成了减半。和价格波动巨大的第一季度相比呢，第二季度的比特币价格呢逐渐企稳，并且呢缓慢上涨，均价呢和第一季度呢接近。我们在第二季度的财务和运营表现呢都取得了有意义的连续改善。
During the quarter, Bitcoin's price volatility declined in comparison to the first quarter as a result of the Bitcoin halving event in May 2020. As Bitcoin's price began to recover in the post-halving period during the second quarter, we recorded meaningful improvements on a sequential basis in our financial and operating performances.
最值得注意的呢是我们的总净收入呢较第一季度增长了 160.8%， 达到人民币 1.781 亿元。这主要呢是得益于本季度我们售出的总算力呢增长了 198.5%， 以及呢售出的比特币矿机数量呢增长了 153.5%。 此外呢我们的盈利能力呢也得到了改善，我们的毛利润呢从2020年第一季度240万元人民币增长到了第二季度的4330万元人民币，净亏损呢从第一季度的3990万元人民币呢大幅度收窄到了第二季度的1680万元人民币。
Most notably, our total net revenues increased by 160.8% quarter-over-quarter to RMB 178.1 million, driven by a 198.5% sequentially increase in our total computing power sold and a 153.5% sequential increase in the number of Bitcoin mining machines sold during the quarter. In addition, we also improved our profitability as we grew our gross profit to RMB 43.3 million in the second quarter from RMB 2.4 million in the prior quarter, while significantly narrowing our net loss to RMB 16.8 million in the second quarter from RMB 39.9 million in the prior quarter.
这样强烈的表现呢，证明了我们有能力在 比特币完成减半和价格企稳以后呢，迅速提升财务的表现。第二季度呢，中国的雨季带来了大量的水电，这样的电价更便宜，而且挖矿的利润更高。这些因素呢，都加速了矿机市场需求的回升。在第二季度呢，我们的库存已经基本上清空了。第三季度待生产的矿机呢，也被预定一空。现在呢，我们已经在接受交货期在第四季度和明年年初的预订单。所以呢，我预计呢，我们第三季度来自客户的预收款和预付费用呢，都会有大幅的增长。我们对强劲的市场需求感到鼓舞。
This strong performance was a testimony to our ability to rejuvenate our business and financial growth as Bitcoin prices stabilized in the post-halving period. Additionally, China's rainy season brought an excess of hydropower in the second quarter, making electricity cheaper and mining more profitable. As a result, the welcoming environment for Bitcoin and the blockchain has accelerated the rebound of market demand for mining machines. In fact, during the second quarter, we came close to clearing out our entire inventory, and our Bitcoin mining machines that are now currently under production in the third quarter have all been pre-ordered. To date, we have already started accepting pre-orders for mining machine deliveries in the fourth quarter of 2020 and early 2021. These pre-orders will result in significant increases in customer advances and prepaid expenses in the third quarter. We are encouraged by the strong market demand.
同时呢，我们进一步加强研发能力，确保产品保持技术革新的领先优势。在第一季度呢，量产第一代三星8纳米的芯片以后呢，我们在第二季度完成了第二代芯片的研发工作。和前一代芯片相比呢，新一代的这个产品呢有了20%的整体性能提升。这批新机器的预订单呢将于9月初开始量产。
Meanwhile, we further strengthened our research and development capabilities to ensure that our products maintain their position at the cutting edge of technological innovation. After mass producing the first generation of the Samsung 8nm chip in the first quarter, we completed the R&D process for the second generation of the same chip in the second quarter. During our tests, the second generation chip has displayed a 20% overall improvement in comparison to its predecessor. We are planning to utilize the new generation of the Samsung 8nm chip to begin our mass production of new Bitcoin mining machines on early September.
此外呢，在第二季度，我们完成了中芯国际的第一代 N+1 制程比特币挖矿芯片的设计和投片工作。这是中芯国际呢首批成功投片的 N+1 制程芯片之一。8月底呢，该芯片已经回片，其性能表现呢在测试中超过了我们的预期。目前呢，我们预计在第四季度中期开始大量交付采用这种芯片的矿机。
In addition, during the second quarter, we completed the tape-out process for the SMIC first generation N+1 chip, which was one of the first N+1 chips to have a successful tape-out at SMIC. In late August, we have already received the N+1 chip from SMIC, and its performance during the tests has exceeded our expectations. Currently, we are expecting to start delivering mining machines with the N+1 chip in the middle of the fourth quarter.
公司非常重视海外客户的拓展。哈萨克斯坦采矿公司 AQ Group Limited 从2019年以来呢，多次向迦南订购采购订单。另一家哈萨克斯坦采矿公司呢AMAC LLC 呢也采购了大量的也签署了大量的购买订单，预计呢今年4季度开始交付。此外呢，公司还正在参与多个境外大型矿场的建设竞标工作，每一个矿场需求量在1万台以上。
While refining our product offerings, we also remain committed to the expansion of our overseas customer base. In Kazakhstan, for example, we have secured multiple large-scale purchase orders from local mining companies, such as AQ Group Limited and AMAC. Furthermore, we are currently in the process of tendering several international Bitcoin mining farms. each of which involves more than 10,000 machines. As of now, we are optimistic about our ability to secure these projects, and we will continue to keep the market updated on our progress.
如上所述呢，随着比特币价格在减半后趋于稳定，市场对高品质矿机的需求呢正在滚雪球式的增长。但受新冠疫情的以及其他不可控因素呢，对全球晶圆制造产能分配造成了一些影响。为了保证在未来几个月能够完成客户的订单，推动业务扩张，我们现在已经向多个生产伙伴预定了足够的订单，并在供应链方面进行了充分的准备。公司去年底呢开始了布局的这个多晶圆厂策略的优势呢开始显现。
As the price of Bitcoin stabilized in the post-halving period, the market demand for high-quality mining machines is snowballing. However, the global capacity for wafer fabrication and distribution has been impacted by a series of factors, such as the COVID-19 pandemic and the geopolitical issues. To ensure that we can continue delivering our products to customers in the coming months, we have made sure to place a sufficient number of orders with our production partners. Nonetheless, as a result of our efforts to diversify our supply sources since 2019, we are well prepared to fulfill our customers' orders and drive our business expansion going forward.
AI 方面呢，第二季度公司的工作重点呢，仍然是加速和主要合作伙伴的产品商业化。我们相信在后疫情时代，疫情中形成的用户习惯和基础设施将帮助许多政府部门、企业和个人跨过数字化转型的鸿沟。
In terms of our AI products, we remain focused on expanding our AI partnership and accelerating the monetization of our AI products during the second quarter. As the COVID-19 outbreak is gradually brought out under control in China, we believe that the social distancing practice people have developed during the epidemic will help to accelerate the digitization process for government agencies, businesses, and individuals.
我们非常开心地宣布呢，公司和美国办公领域传感器硬件以及 SaaS 企业 WorldSense 达成了合作。K210 呢将应用于新一代的硬件传感器上，用于因新冠疫情产生的社交安全距离检测的功能需求。该产品呢已在7月份实现了量产。
In line with this strategic focus, we partnered with WorldSense, a US-based workplace management service provider specializing in sensor hardware and SaaS solutions. Through this partnership, our K210 chips will be implemented in WorldSense's new generation of motion sensors developed to analyze safe social distances amid the pandemic. Mass production for this new generation of motion sensors began in July.
公司上季度提到的，在疫情期间开发的口罩识别智能门禁系统已经正式的面向市场进行销售，目前呢已经有比较稳定的订单数量。
On the previous earnings call, we mentioned that we had developed an intelligent door lock system capable of running facial recognition on people wearing masks. This system is now available on the market, and the system orders are ramping up.
K210 呢已经入选大疆创新的某个 Steam 教育产品的 AI 功能项目。今年7月呢就已经启动了工程开发的工作。预计呢，在今年年底到明年年初呢 ，K210 的人工智能模块将正式应用于大疆的产品。同时呢，另一家Steam 教育龙头企业优必选也进入了试产的阶段。此外呢，迦南和国内云台行业的龙头企业桂林智神的合作也进展到了试产的阶段。
In addition, during the second quarter, DJI Technology selected our K210 chips for one of its STEM education projects. This project was launched in July, and we expected to start implementing our chips into DJI Technology's products in late 2020 or early 2021. Moreover, our AI products jointly developed with both the leading STEM learning solution provider UB Tech and the leading developer of pan and tilt stabilizer, Guilin Zhishen Information, have begun production testing.
公司呢现在正在加紧研发下一代的 AI 芯片 K510。目前呢芯片还没有量产，但是呢已经收到了大量客户的测试需求。K510的量产呢预计在今年第4季度到2021年第1季度之间。同时呢，公司也一直在推进 AI 产品和开源社区的整合。公司的下一步战略呢是 AI 应用平台的开源。
We are also working around the clock to develop our next generation AI chip, the K510. The new chip has already received a large number of customer requests for testing, and we expect to start mass production before the first quarter of 2021. At the same time, we have maintained our commitment to integrating our AI products into our open source community. Our strategic goal is to build an open source AI application platform.
最近公司呢还对管理架构和董事会成员方面进行了调整。目前呢公司的管理层团队呢除了在芯片领域以外，还在国际市场战略规划、企业管理以及高科技行业未来布局等方面丰富的经验。我们相信呢，好的公司治理既是公司控制者的决策，朝着最有利于公司价值提升和增进投资者财富的方向发展。
Recently, we also announced the changes to our organizational structure and the board of directors. The new additions to our executive team will help to ensure that we have an in-depth understanding of the future trends in the high-tech industry. Additionally, these executive changes have also helped to ensure that our management team has extensive experience not only in the IC industry but also in global market strategic planning and corporate governance. We firmly believe that effective corporate governance will enable us to generate the most value for both our company and our shareholders going forward.
同时呢，我们也坚信，虽然全球经济还面临着不确定性，但是呢，科技无国界，科技呢将成为提升社会运行效率、改善人类生活方式的根本途径。我的介绍就到这里，谢谢大家。
Although the global economy is still facing uncertainties, we are confident that the technology transcends borders and will become a vital tool for us to enhance society's operational efficiency and improve everyone's way of life. This concludes the remarks of our CEO, Mr. Zhang. Now, on behalf of our CFO, Mr. Fu Hong, I will provide an overview of our second quarter financial results. Before I start, please note that all numbers are in RMB terms, unless otherwise noted. Total net revenue in the second quarter of 2020 decreased by 26.3% to 178.1 million from 241.5 million in the same period of 2019. The year-over-year decline was primarily attributable to the outbreak of COVID-19 and the Bitcoin halving event in the second quarter of 2020, both of which led to the decreases in our total computing power sold and our average selling price per terahash in the same period. On the sequential basis, total net revenue grew by 160.9% from RMB 68.3 million in the first quarter of 2020. Cost of revenue in the second quarter of 2020 was 133.8 million, compared to 230.8 million in the same period of 2019, and 65.9 million in the first quarter of 2020. The year-over-year decrease and the quarter-over-quarter increase in the cost of revenues were in line with the changes in both our terahash sales volume and the cost per terahash. Gross profit in the second quarter of 2020 increased to 43.3 million, representing an increase of 302.5% from 10.8 million in the same period of 2019, and an increase of 1,711.5% from 2.4 million in the first quarter of 2020. Gross margin in the second quarter of 2020 expanded to 24.3% from 4.5% in the same period of 2019, and 3.5% in the first quarter of 2020. Research and development expenses in the second quarter of 2020 decreased to 26.1 million from 35.9 million in the same period of 2019, and 41.8 million in the first quarter of 2020. The reduction of R&D expenses was mainly due to the decrease in materials used for research and development purpose during the second quarter. As a percentage of total net revenue, R&D expenses in the second quarter of 2020 was 14.6% compared to 14.9% in the same period of 2019, and 61.2% in the first quarter of 2020. Let's now take a look at other operating expenses in the second quarter. 1. Selling and marketing expenses in the second quarter of 2020 were 6.5 million compared to 5.6 million in the same period of 2019, and 4.1 million in the first quarter of 2020. The increase in selling and marketing expenses was mainly driven by higher salaries for our sales and marketing department staff. As a percentage of total net revenues, selling and marketing expenses in the second quarter of 2020 was 3.7% compared to 2.3% in the same period of 2019, and 6.1% in the first quarter of 2020. 2. General and administrative expenses in the second quarter of 2020 were 29.6 million compared to 238.1 million in the same period of 2019, and 27.6 million in the first quarter of 2020. In the second quarter of 2019, a total of 213.1 million in share-based compensation allocated to general and administrative expenses was caused by the excess of appraised fair value of the transfer price of ordinary shares transferred from the existing shareholders to other existing shareholders who were also employees. Consequently, our total operating expenses in the second quarter of 2020 decreased to 60.4 million from 279.7 million in the same period of 2019, and 73.5 million in the first quarter of 2020. Loss from operations in the second quarter of 2020 decreased to 18.9 million from 268.9 million in the same period of 2019, and 71.1 million in the first quarter of 2020. Excluding share-based compensation expenses of 0.7 million, non-GAAP loss from operations in the second quarter of 2020 was 18.2 million. Net loss attributable to ordinary shareholders in the second quarter of 2020 decreased to 16.8 million from 263.1 million in the same period of 2019, and 39.9 million in the first quarter of 2020. Non-GAAP adjustable net loss in the second quarter of 2020, which excluded the share-based compensation expenses, was 16.8 million. Diluted net loss per ADS in the second quarter of 2020 was RMB 0.11 compared to RMB 1.88 in the same period of 2019, and RMB 0.25 in the first quarter of 2020. Turning to our balance sheet, as of June 30th, 2020, we had cash and cash equivalents of 157 million compared to 516.6 million as of December 31st, 2019. The decrease was mainly due to the higher short-term investments. As of June 30th, 2020, we had invested 347.6 million in short-term investments compared to RMB 11 million in short-term investments as of December 31st, 2019. We purchased the short-term financial products to receive higher returns but no withdrawal restrictions. This concludes our prepared remarks for today. Operators, we are now ready to take questions.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now begin the question and answer session. As a reminder, if you wish to ask a question, you'll need to press star and 1 on your telephone and wait for your name to be announced. If you wish to cancel your request, please press the hash key. Again, it's star and 1 if you wish to ask a question. And as a reminder as well, when asking the question, please state your question in Chinese first, then immediately repeat your question in English for the convenience of everyone in the call. Again, it's star and 1 if you wish to ask a question. Again, it's star and 1 if you wish to ask a question. And our first question comes from the line of Dan Wiskoff from Chiroso Investments. Your line is now open.
Yes, thank you very much. I apologize. I don't speak Chinese, so I have to ask the question in English. Can you make any comments on deposits made by customers for orders for your mining equipment?
是中文。可以讲，普通人翻译一下吗？帮我翻译，都中文一下。哦，行。行，现在可以。那个，请帮助客户对于咱们之前销售订单的情况做一些解释。预售是吧？就你刚才说到的内容里边，我们说明。
OK， 你好，我先用中文回答，然后晚点会有那个英文的翻译。目前的话呢，我们现在的客户呢，主要的订单呢是我们现在的A10系列的这个产品，各种型号现在都有。这部分的产品呢，在从去年到今年呢，已经比较成熟了。在第二季度呢，我们销售的主要也是以这个我们的这个库存为主。但是呢，从二季度结束到三季度初呢，我们的整个库存已经销售已经基本上完成了，所以呢，现在的有一些新客户和一些这个老客户，他们再向我们下订单的时候呢，就必须要去购买这个期货的订单了。这个在我们这个行业来说呢，算是一个非常正常的一个情况。如果这个订单量比较大的话呢，一般很难有这个现货的这个供应。一般都要那个等待一段的时间。我们现在的这个期货单呢，基本上是从第三季度晚一些时候到一直到这个明年的一季度，这么长的一个时间里来交付。为什么时间比较长呢？是因为咱们现在的这个晶圆生产的时间，大致上需要接近4个月的时间，还有这个机器生产的时间。所以的话，大家能看到我们的订单会覆盖比较长的时间。我想最近的这个订单量增加呢，和我们产品的性能、质量和性价比都是有关系的。OK。
Okay. Our existing customer orders are mainly from the A10 series product, and this is part of because the A10 product was more mature, and in the second quarter, our sales are mostly are selling based on selling on our inventory, and starting from the third quarter, our inventory was completely sold. So the new orders are now future orders are booking our future new series of products. This is fairly a common practice in our industry, and especially for big orders they normally you have to wait for a certain period. Now that our expected delivery time is between the third quarter this year and first quarter next year, the delivery time a bit longer is because of the processing and manufacturing of the foundry takes a longer time. Recently, our book order number of orders are increasing because our new product series has better performance and better price to cost efficiency.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you wish to ask a question, you will need to press star and 1 on your telephone. Again, it's star and 1 on your telephone keypad. And your next question comes from the line of Michael Parker from PDF Limited. Michael, your line is now open.
Thank you. Yes, my question is to the CFO. What international accounting standards does the company work with and towards, please?
给 CFO 的问题就是洪总的，他问的是我们公司用的是什么样的一个国际会计准则。
你好，我们用的就是美国的这个 US GAAP。
Hi, our accounting principle is following the US GAAP standard.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. There were no further questions at this time. I'll hand back over to the management for closing remarks.
All right, thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to talking with you next quarter. Thanks.
And that is the conference for today. Thank you for participating. You may all now disconnect.